Pregame.com.
Saturday night preseason action. Let it begin. It's Tebow Mania. We've got the Giants at the Jets. Are you ready for Tebow Mania, Scott?
All I know is I think it was Thursday night, we're doing first preview, and you and VR were on your knee doing the Tebow thing, which I'm not going to do here. It was pretty ugly. But no, here's the thing. I mean, it's a lot of excitement for New York. It's a great fit for him. I'm not sure. I think Sanchez can handle the fact of being yanked out of games in the regular season in the red zone, I think. But I think if you're the kind of guy who has what it takes to be a starter in the NFL at any position, but especially at quarterback, you have to have a healthy ego. And if they're yanking you in the red zone, that would bother me a little bit if I'm a quarterback or a starter at any position in the NFL.
The last time that this was done this way was the Philadelphia Eagles when they first signed Michael Vick.
Sure.
You had Donovan McNabb, drive him down the field, you get inside the 20, and in comes Michael Vick.
Right.
Donovan McNabb now, he's been a starter for a lot longer than Sanchez, but he didn't like it.
Right.
He said it ruined his rhythm.
Sure.
If you got to come back in and throw a pass, it just breaks the continuity.
Well, if you're on the sideline, I'll make a quick point. If you're on the sideline and you've engineered this drive from your own 20 to the other team's 15 or whatever, and all of a sudden you're taken out of the game and you see Tebow come in and he's running this new offense, newfangled Wildcat or whatever, and it doesn't score. And in your mind, you're at the line of scrimmage still, even though you're on the sideline. In your mind, you're at the line of scrimmage and you're audibilizing and also thinking of what play should be called to best produce a potential touchdown. And if you're on the sideline and you're watching a guy get nailed 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage because he's running the Wildcat, or after a while everybody figures it out and the middle linebacker mirrors Tebow and takes him down a yard past the line of scrimmage, you're getting a little bit angry, especially when you start losing football games.
Absolutely, and there's been a lot of talk about the Wildcat. Will we see it this week? Rex Ryan, he's, under wraps.
Right.
He's talking a big game. I don't think he's going to show it until we get to the regular season. Why would you want to tip
Well, that's for me, Marco, as I'm looking at this game, and I know there's been this big line move, about a 3.5-point swing. The Giants were a 2-point favorite. They're now a 1.5-point dog. But
very briefly, let me add.
Oh, yeah, it was a sneeze. It was a hiccup. But the bottom line is I'm looking at this game and I'm going, man, out of all the preseason games thus far, the Hall of Fame game, week 1, and now into week 2 as I'm handicapping this week's games, for my style of handicapping, which is based on matchups and, of course, in preseason on information, and, of course, I look at numbers and all that kind of stuff, but I cannot sink my teeth into this game. I'd be doing a disservice to my bankroll and anybody else's bankroll if I told them that I had to play on this game, in which we won't do, because Ryan does have this super secret Wildcat package, and if he comes out and runs it, and I've got my money on this game, and I've got it on the other side or on them on an under or whatever, for me, I just can't do it. It's just a matchup handicapper's nightmare, I think, the information that's not being put out right now.
Well, this is the way that I'm looking at the game, and I'm going to take the Jets. And yes, the line moved, and like I said, you had to be right at the window when it opened up, because
Sure.
This thing wasn't there for long at the Giants -2. But I'm looking at the Jets for a couple reasons. One, we talk about preseason football. Again, sometimes it's who wants the game more, because let's face it, the Giants are the defending Super Bowl champs. What do they have to prove? They are the toast of the town. You've got the Jets that are trying to become the toast of the town. Rex Ryan, you would think that this team's won 3 Super Bowls already the way he runs his mouth all the time.
Sure.
But they haven't done it yet. They haven't done really anything. They got to the championship game a few times, the AFC championship, but they haven't got through. Last year, they didn't make the playoffs,
Right.
and that's a key point to this game. One of the main reasons they didn't make the playoffs last year was the next to last week of the season, they played these very same New York Giants, and that one game changed the fate of both teams.
Sure.
Because it took the Jets, who controlled their own destiny, to get into the playoffs. They lost their own control, and the Giants, who were having that end of season slide like they always do, were on the risk of not making the playoffs, winning that game, and then winning the final week
such a
against
key,
the
yeah.
It was a big...
Let me ask you also, on top of that, do you think the Jets are, I remember when they were, what was the show they used to be on HBO? I forget now what they call it every week.
Hard Knocks.
Tough one to remember. There's 2 words. But anyway, when the Jets were on there, he always talked about, I want to win every game, preseason, regular season. because they stunk it up so badly at offense last week? Do you think that's even more motivation? Because I'm not handicapping this game. I've tried it.
It is. I'm looking at it. Who's going to want this game more? And I think Rex Ryan wants to say, hey, let's unveil Tebow. If he would show the Wildcat, which again, I don't think he'll show it till the regular season, but if he shows it, he will show it in this game in front of the New York crowd, in front of the other New York team, the Super Bowl champs, and a little payback for last year.
I think he has to. If not this week, it has to be a major part of the dress rehearsal game next week, because how can you go into a regular season game? I know Tebow understands the Wildcat, and I know his offensive coordinator understands the Wildcat, but do the guards who have to pull a certain way different than they do in a regular running play, and everybody else in the mix, and the wide receivers who have to block downfield if he breaks through the line of scrimmage and gets past that first group of tacklers, all of a sudden these guys turn into blockers. I mean, there's so much different things going on that I really believe, if not this week, he has to run that Wildcat at least 5 or 6 times in the dress rehearsal week.
Well, I think, if you see it, you're going to see it this week. The other stat I'm going to throw out at you here, tendencies. We talk about coaching tendencies, and Rex Ryan is a guy that likes to win no matter whenever. But if you're looking at the total in this game, give you kind of a little, a sub-selection here. Coughlin, in his career, has gone over 41 times to 24 unders entering this season. Last week's game was a high-scoring game with the Giants. Ryan entering this season, the last week's game was low-scoring. Right. The offense was pitiful, but he's got a record of 8-3-1 to the over.
And he was 5-0 to the over until last week. They had a little 5-game preseason run there, 5-0.
So I expect him to work on the offense hard this week. Sanchez didn't look good last week. He's got to pick it up, because if Sanchez has a couple bad games, you know how the media is in New York. It's just going to spiral. Sure. It'll be a circus. And, Tebow, he is what he is. He's bigger than life.
You kind of got me leaning towards the over here, because, the one thing I knew for sure is that the Giants' defensive line is an absolute mess, and I'm talking about the first 2 strings. In fact, they went out after Ronnie Cameron earlier this week, and he was awarded to the Cleveland Browns. But they're real thin at defensive tackle right now. So when the regulars are on for the Jets, you're not really going to see so-called first-string defensive tackles for the Giants for too long, if at all, because of all the injuries. So you kind of got me leaning towards the over there a little bit.
Let's face it, when Tebow is in there for his normal rotation, he's going to be facing the second unit. And I know Tebow's not that good, but, we've had this discussion last year, RJ and me, over and over in countless videos. I don't think he's an NFL caliber quarterback, but he does have talent and does make things happen, and he's going to be doing it against second unit players. So I like the Jets. Small lean also to the over in the game. There you have it. That's my pick for this week. Take the New York Jets on Saturday over the Giants. We're going to be right back. One more video. We're going to take a look at the Sunday night football game. Pittsburgh Steelers play host to the Indianapolis Colts and the second coming of the Messiah, also named Andrew Luck. We'll be right back here on pregame.tv.